to this now. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme has patted itself on the back for processing all the 2026 funding applications prior to the start of the academic year. The scheme saying it has received almost 900,000 applications with more than 60,000 approved. Now, let's try and get you some detail on the body's state of readiness for the academic year. Joining me tonight via the virtual platform is the acting CEO of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, Waseem Carrim. Mr. Carrim, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. So you essentially are saying that everything is in order for the 2026 academic year. How confident are you that there is not going to be comebacks, or is this part of the prep?
Yeah, thanks very much, Kuli, and good evening to you and to your viewers as well. Well, I mean, I think it's Mike Tyson who says everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Yeah. So we certainly have a plan. We've spent the latter part of 2025 planning for, traditionally what seems to go wrong at the start of every academic year, and to try and put in place the the mechanisms to be able to address those risks that exist. Of course, not everything. Apologies. Not everything in higher education is within NSFAS's control, but I think what we're saying from our perspective is everything that is within our control, we will handle, and we will stick to our commitments and our timeframes, which we have consulted with the sector on.
Yeah. Part of, and as you use the word tradition, part of what the students will normally complain about are not only the fees that they have to have them taken care of in order for them to continue with studying at university, but quite contentious is the issue of accommodation, and this always springs up. Where are we in regard to that?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that we need to take into account in the context around accommodation. So it really runs on a hybrid format. What you have is universities and institutions who manage the accommodation function on their own, and they really, NSFAS delegates the responsibility to those institutions to say, we have our beneficiaries, but you're going to take care of them from an accommodation perspective, and we'll exercise oversight over those institutions to ensure that they do what's required to be done. Where NSFAS manages student accommodation, things have tended to go wrong in the past. And we've put in place a couple of mechanisms to address that going into the new academic year. On the one hand, we've taken into account what is the anticipated number of students that we expect to have per campus in 2026, and to ensure that we have sufficient accommodation to be able to accommodate them. Two is the early publishing of our funding lists with the institutions to ensure that it is NSFAS beneficiaries who can be placed in accommodation, because what we found in the past is that non-NSFAS beneficiaries are placed, and landlords then claim money from us which we can't pay over. And then thirdly is to have full-time capacity present at institutions of higher learning to facilitate the accommodation placement process. And we've made a commitment that, for students who arrive on campus during the very busy registration period, which is the first week of Feb, within 4 hours of a student arriving on campus, we should have them placed in accommodation. So we avoid the scenario of students sleeping in libraries, students being homeless, and that kind of mechanism. The other aspect, Kwali, is that the payment of accommodation providers on time. And if you have a diligent onboarding, registration, lease agreement signing process, then really your payment process flows from there, because you've got the right student in the right accommodation, you're able to pay the right landlord on time.
Yeah. Are student bodies on board here when you say that you've essentially dealt with the 2026 academic year and things seem to be in order? Do you have them on board? Are they on your side here, or is that something that you're still waiting for?
So we continue to consult with all relevant stakeholders. Within the higher education ecosystem, of course, there's student representative bodies, but there's also bodies which represent universities and bodies which represent TVET colleges. And we continue to consult with those bodies. So, for example, today's media briefing was based on consultations that would have taken place in the prior year. The Minister of Higher Education and Training has also convened a war room where all stakeholders in the higher education sector meet regularly to be able to address challenges. Because as much as we've laid out these plans, it is a very volatile system, and it requires agility and flexibility, right? And I think that's one of the things that NSFAS is saying is we are prepared to be agile and flexible in being responsive to the issues that may come about during what is a very critical period, the next 2 months in the year. Yeah?
Waseem Carrim, let's leave it there for tonight. Hopefully we are going to talk again because, as you say, sometimes this atmosphere, it is fluid at the best of times, and as you hear him say there, they are willing to be agile in order to try and meet the needs of the students. All right.